Music fans, welcome back. It is Dave, the Real Music Observer, observing real music in real time for real people, just like you right there. And yours truly right here. Paul McCartney has released 2 songs, Come On To Me and I Don't Know. First thing I need to say about Paul McCartney is when Paul McCartney has flatulence, it sounds better than about 90% of the music that's out there. All right, you're dealing with a guy who's basically like Mozart and Picasso. This is rock and roll royalty to a degree that most human beings today who didn't live through the Beatles and Wings and so forth really can't comprehend, okay? I'm just throwing that out there. You know, I talk about melodic rock bands and all of these groups that, you know, have little bits and pieces of melody and ideas, and you think to yourself, wow, that's a really creative hook. Well, Paul McCartney can sit at a piano and likely compose an entire album in a day if he wants to. And even if it's, say, you know, for Paul McCartney, say it's, you know, an off day, again, it's going to be better than probably 90% of the music that's out there. Now, if you don't like Paul McCartney, I can't help you, folks. I'm just not going to be able to convince you. All I know is the man is a genius, and these 2 songs prove to me that Paul McCartney still has gas in the tank. When I did a video the other day, I talked about his vocals getting a little bit warbly, a little shaky, live in concert and so forth. These 2 new studio recordings, to me, really drove home the point that he still can sing. Paul's voice has gotten a little bit deeper over the years, which happens to a lot of vocalists. Some vocalists, though, do the other thing where their voice gets thin and kind of hard to hear because they're singing softly because they can't belt out the tunes anymore. It appears that Paul can still sing, and he sings fairly well. Come On To Me, a fun song, a kind of a stomping sort of tune, reminds me a lot of Spies Like Us and Let 'Em In. If I were going to do a couple of songs that I think it borrows from a little bit, the lyrical repetition reminds me of Let 'Em In. The beat kind of is a little like Spies Like Us, which, by the way, was a tune, again, that Paul McCartney composed in like 5 minutes, basically, for that Chevy Chase movie, I believe it was, back in the 80s. Probably a movie that you haven't seen, but the song is kind of fun. The other tune on this starts off a little slower. It's called I Don't Know, and then it kicks into gear and has a good mid-tempo groove. It's hard to really, you know, pigeonhole it and say it sounds like this, that, or the other. Typically, McCartney composes a lot of material that sounds original. If he's not trying to be all original, he's borrowing from his best days with the Beatles and Wings and his solo material. Egypt Station is the name of this album officially. Everybody now has pretty much confirmed that, including Paul himself. Look, folks, this is music history. I'm wondering, again, as I do, and I often inject this in videos I do, I wonder if anybody in America, adult contemporary stations or rock stations around the country, would even play Paul McCartney today. I haven't seen any evidence of that. I don't think they played anything off of his last album, which was called New. I talked about Chaos and Creation in the Backyard, which was absolutely stunning. A genius album by Paul McCartney standards, okay? And I don't think one song got played on American radio. And if it did, it was like one spin, you know? It's just sad. It's like what I was talking about yesterday with that radio station in Louisiana, the Classic Hits station, and they're not going to play the new Tony Lewis tune, and they're not going to play new music from Paul McCartney, even though you can't get more classic hits, folks, than Paul McCartney. And if you spin these tunes a few times, I think you're going to find that they're instantly catchy, instantly stick in your head, and that's what Paul McCartney does. He's a melodic genius, and again, as I said at the beginning of this video, his flatulence is better than 90% of the music that's being made today. All right, I'm done with this video. Check out the two-sided single, Come On To Me, and I Don't Know. It's Paul McCartney at his best, and he sounds great. I'll be back with more real music talk real soon. We'll see you then.